Paper 1 is called Living in the UK, 3 modules. There is Landscapes of the UK, which is coasts and rivers. People of the UK, very much about how the population's changed over the years, and UK environmental challenges. Paper 2 is the world around us. We look at ecosystems of the planet, focusing on all ecosystems, but then zooming in on tropical rainforests and coral reefs as a case study. We look at people of the planet, thinking about how we have uneven development around the world. So we have our richer countries and our poorer countries. And then we look at environmental challenges globally, and we think about sort of climate change, the causes of it, the impacts. Paper 3, the first section is geographical skills, your graphs, your maps and charts, but also some basic math skills in there, problem solving. And then you go to the second half of it, which is field work, and we have 2 opportunities to study field work, and then obviously you're assessed on one of those in terms of the paper. The fieldwork opportunities are always a hit with our students. Over the last couple of years, we've gone to Whitby for our human one, and we've looked at the impact that tourism has on the area. And then for the physical one, we go to the Lake District and we look at a particular river and find out how it changes from source to mouth. Our pupils really, really enjoy the fieldwork because it's obviously a day out of school, but it's also seeing in real life what we've studied in the classroom. So at the kind of middle of a module, the end of a module, we just assess obviously a pupil's knowledge and understanding as we go along. So that helps to build up their sense of sort of doing exams, but also their ability to answer and unpick questions. So obviously they can move on to do A-level geography, and then obviously move on to go to university. When it comes to careers, geography kind of opens doors into lots of jobs. Police and army really like geography because of the problem solving. Tourism is a great job to get into with geography.
It's a BTEC technical award, so that means it's a vocational qualification as opposed to a GSCE. It covers everything really, from infancy right up to mature adulthood, and looks at lifestyle development, care services, and also health and well-being. There's 3 components to the course itself, 2 of which are coursework assignments, and 1 of which is an exam that can be taken either in a February or a May-June period. Just about everybody knows small children. They've all got parents, they've got grandparents, and being able to relate their own personal experience and their knowledge of people at different stages of life, with celebrities, famous people, and looking at the trials and tribulations that they've had in relation to development. So yeah, probably the fact it's very relevant is something that's most enjoyable. There are the 2 coursework assignments that have what are called 2 different learning aims, and then the final exam as well. The exam is on the health and well-being. Students need to achieve in all 3 components, and can be awarded, could be a level 1, but obviously aspirations are for a level 2, either a pass, merit, distinction or distinction star. Okay, it opens up obviously A-levels. It can be used as a subject towards A-levels. There are also level 3 qualifications in health and social care, which could then be a stepping stone for apprenticeships or for degrees in a related sector. Career opportunities are very, very wide. Everything from, there's teaching, social care services, the care industry itself, and everything within the medical profession would see this as a relevant qualification to have.
So in technology, we offer 4 different subject options. We offer design technology, engineering, construction and catering. All 4 courses are delivered over 3 years. So you start in year 9, and year 9 is about building those basic skills in order to be successful throughout the duration of the course. Design technology is awarded from 1 to 9 using the GSCE scale. You will get the chance in year 9 to develop your basic understanding of things like the design process, understanding all the various different types of modelling and prototyping skills that can be developed. In year 10, you will further develop those skills, and then you will be given a brief with the flexibility to develop outcomes using the 3D printer and the laser cutter. And in year 11, you will then produce the coursework, which then will be sent off and assessed by the exam board, and then you will develop your understanding of the exam process and then sit the exam in year 11. Once you've successfully finished the course, you can then go on to pursue A-levels in product design, graphic design, art illustration, even things like architecture.
You will do experimentation in loads of different media materials, working in acrylics, paints, watercolours, pastels, and you can even get into clay making, which is, you know, something really cool to get into. A lot of people, you know, like that kind of side of things, but it's really open, so you can make it your own. You'll get given a title, but you will sort of make it your own, and you can do your own kind of style. We will do sort of one-to-one feedback in the class. We'll see what you're doing and how to improve. We will kind of give you some artists to look at, so you will be assessed on 4 assessment objectives, and that will go towards your final grades for your GCSE. So there's quite a few areas you can get into. You can go on to do graphic design, illustration, fine art at college, and you know, there's jobs out there, you know, either freelance or, you know, pottery, anything like that, that'll put you in sort of that creative bubble of the industry.
So we would expect people to be high-level performers, so ideally they would be involved in sports clubs outside of school, because they get assessed in 3 sports. And obviously on one of those sports they've got to do a bit of coursework, and that is worth 40% of the overall exam, the practical element. And then they do 2 written papers, which is worth 60%. So paper 1 is all regarding fitness, so your types of fitness, training methods. We look at your skeletal system, your muscular system, cardiovascular, respiratory system. And the second paper is more around sports psychology. So we look at diet, we look at commercialisation, so media and sponsorship, and they'll sit 2 exams at the end of year 11. So rather than just have them doing the traditional sports, we look at assessing in rock climbing. So we take them up to Sunderland Wall and they do a block of sessions rock climbing, and we've took them to a local athletics track to get them assessed in athletics. A lot of students go on and might do A-level PE. A lot of students go on to do BTECs. So it's basically if you want a career in any aspect of sport.
Engineering is a equivalent weight to a GSCE. However, it's assessed from a level 1 to pass merit and distinction. In year 9, you will learn a little bit more about the engineering sector. You get the chance to operate a range of various different hand tools, in which time you will learn also about engineering drawing, how to interpret and draw them, and produce things like an engineered bottle opener, a can crusher, machine vise and a barbecue stand. In year 10, you get the opportunity to take apart a product and evaluate its processes and materials. In our case, we take apart a camping stool. In year 11, you move on to look in more detail at engineering sectors and how they interrelate. And also you get the chance to develop your own engineered outcome. And in our case, we produce a wireless headphone stand, which needs to be portable, and it also needs to charge the headphones overnight. And then we get the chance to develop our use of computer-aided design. Once you've completed the course, there are a number of different routes into further education or employment. It's very popular that the students leave here and go to look for apprenticeships. And equally, it's also suitable if you want to pursue a career in engineering, but you follow the academic route pursuing A-levels. The engineering sector is absolutely vast, looking at mechanical and electrical engineering, and also the diverse engineering sectors that come from that, such as chemical engineering, biomechanical engineering, nanotechnology and so on.
The syllabus is broken into 4 components. We do a section called Animal Health, which is really more about animal ill health. It's all about diseases and the problems that occur with animals. The next unit they do is more about the law and animal laws, the Animal Welfare Act, the amendments to that, Dangerous Dogs Act. After that, we do a unit all on handling. So we teach them the basic aspects of handling, how to handle for health checks, how to handle for things such as illness and pregnancy. So a lot of our work is also scenario based, where they'd look at whether they're in a vet nurses or a kennels or a cattery, or whether they're actually working with animals scientifically. And the last unit's probably the most fun one. We do a lot of behavioural work, and we do loads of work on normal behaviour and then abnormal behaviour and stereotypical behaviours. And not just looking at dogs and cats, we look at herd animals like horses. We also look at wildlife animals and enrichment environments. We'll take them down to Flamingo Land and they get a walk around Flamingo Land Zoo. We have one of these petting zoos comes in and we handle things like tarantulas and reptiles that you wouldn't normally see, like skinks. Other days they enjoy the days the dogs are in and they're physically handling the dogs. They like having the chickens in. We have the school rabbits are handled, the guinea pigs are handled and they're checked out. So they do a lot of hands-on work from about year 10. Year 9's a bit more theoretical. The animal handling, the laws and the work on behaviour is all done by coursework, whilst the first part, the animal health, is all done by assessment externally. So they sit an exam, that's 25%. We've had students use this course as a springboard into going into working for the jockey club and doing horse riding. We've got students who've taken this and gone on to college to prepare themselves to be veterinary nurses. We've got students who've gone on to take this course and then gone on to doing equine studies and looking at running their own stables. We've got students who've used this as a springboard for working in rescue kennels and catteries. So there's a wide range of careers out there, and not just lower level careers. You can use this as a springboard to get you into level 3 courses straight away, and then onto those into a degree course or a higher level MVQ that can take you to a higher path.
In DIT, which is Digital Information Technology, you will study 3 different components. Component 1 is where you will look at interfaces and how they work and how accessible they are. In Component 2, you will look at spreadsheets, how they work, how they are used and the different features in them. And then in Component 3, which is an exam piece of work, you will sit an exam after learning about different topics. Students enjoy a range of skills that they learn. Obviously in Component 1 they will learn about interfaces, how to make an interface, how to design an interface, how to review an interface, getting feedback from their interfaces. And then in Unit 2, Component 2, they will learn about the spreadsheets, how spreadsheets work, how the features work within spreadsheets and be able to create their own spreadsheet. And then in Component 3 they take away a lot of skills that are used within the real world around things like modern technology use, iPads, phones, and also things to do with cybersecurity. You will complete 2 pieces of coursework in school, assessed by teachers and then externally assessed. That weights at around about 60% of your final grade. And then in Component 3, which is an externally assessed piece of exam work, where you come in and you sit an exam for an hour and a half, and that is worth 40% of your final grade. After DIT, which is a BTEC, you will be able to go to college and take a level 3 course in some form of IT qualification, or you will be able to do an apprenticeship.
The religions that we study are Christianity and Islam. They're the 2 biggest religions in the world, and they have a huge impact on the world as it is today. And then we also look at 4 themes. The themes that we look at are God and Revelation, which is all about philosophical arguments for and against God. Then we look at religion and life, which is about how religion has an impact on start of life issues and end of life issues. We look at crime and punishment, which includes religious ideas towards punishment, reasons why people commit crimes. We look at the death penalty. And then the final unit that we look at is peace and conflict. So we look at religious attitudes to war and peace. There's a big part of the course that is really fascinating, where you're looking at things like the Hajj, the huge pilgrimage that Muslims go on. And then there are those bits of the themes units which have such a big impact in the world and that people are arguing about because they're so passionate about them in the world today. So when we find out about why things like the death penalty causes such a fuss and why people feel so passionately that it should be abolished, or why some people feel that it should be retained in places in the world that use it, those are the real highlights. There are 2 exams, so an exam on the religions paper and an exam for the themes paper as well. At the end of each unit there is an assessment. We practice those exam style questions right the way through the course. There are so many different things that you can study within RS. You could look at theology, philosophy and ethics, but you can also use RS as a real gateway to other subjects and to different careers. So if you're interested in anything like law or journalism, healthcare or social care, having that understanding of religion really sets you up in those other subjects.
Construction is the equivalent size to a GSCE. It is awarded a level 1 and 2 pass merit distinction. In year 9 we focus on the work of carpentry and joinery. So we look at various different techniques in which to use. In that time you get to use our construction skill centre, which means that you can use all the specialist facilities that we have got, such as the mortise tenon machine, the sander, to produce outcomes such as timber frames, a planter, a bottle rack and a tool tray. In year 10 we then focus on the wider work of the construction industry. So we'll look at things like building structures and foundations, and you also get the chance to look at the world of architecture in order to produce a house from a client brief. In year 11 we look at maths and science in construction, so we'll look at how construction materials are tested and evaluated, and we also look at how projects are costed and developed based on their need. The year 11 exam is a combination of the construction industry and this wider work, and also things like foundations, structures and building materials. In construction, it's very popular for students to enjoy applying for apprenticeships. Also, it's popular to move on to level 3 if you want to move into things like surveying and architecture. It's very popular by boys and girls. So if you feel that it would be for you and it interests you, I would highly recommend that you have a look and see for yourself some of the fabulous work that we do down in construction.
In hair and beauty, what you'll be learning is all about the hair and beauty industry. You'd be looking at things like businesses, how you run business, how you can own it. The second thing you'd be doing is design briefs. So you'd be given a design brief, and then you could create an image, the whole image, looking at the design brief requirements. You'd also do a little bit of science as well, so it's really good if you're interested in science, because you'll be looking at how products are made, what ingredients go into that. And then thirdly, we do a research project, a subject of your choice, and you would then do a big research project on that. One of them is the exam, external exam, and the other 3 are online assessments in school where you would do a project to actually get the qualification. The best part about hair and beauty is actually working in our fully functional salon upstairs. So we do have practical sessions every week. So you'd be doing things like plaiting, we'd learn how to make lip scrubs, we'd actually make products up there, we'd actually be working on each other and on your own hair as well. So really interesting times in the salon. Within hair and beauty, if you were to carry on in this industry, there's lots of options to travel, like working on cruise ship. It's not just being in the high street, working in a salon. So you've got theatrical makeup, special effects makeup, lots of options available to you.
This one is more coursework based. There's still a practical element. So one of the units you still get assessed on 2 sports, a team and an individual sport. Another unit, which is sports leadership, we look at obviously lesson plan. So they've got to plan their own lesson, deliver it to a group of students, and then obviously evaluate the session. We then have to do 1 written exam, which is on contemporary issues, so they kind of look at Olympic values, barriers to perhaps participation in sports. We look at performance-enhancing drugs, different national governing bodies, and they sit a 1-hour paper on that. Normally we do it in year 10, and the last unit is the media, so we explore obviously how media and sport all link together, and that is, so it's more based for those students that they enjoy PE, doing a little bit of practical, but they know that they kind of excel when they've got to do coursework. So the next steps, obviously, for if they want to looking to go into sports coaching, anything in terms of they can go on to do A-levels, it's a natural progression where you can obviously go and do your BTEC sport at college and go on to university. So anything like sports coaching, leadership roles, obviously we look at media, so if you want to do stuff like sports journalism, anything like that would obviously link for a career in sport.
So it's a 3-year course. They learn how to create artist studies. They learn about artists, textiles artists, fashion designers. They look at how they can use the artists to actually influence their own work and create their own pieces. From year 9, they start looking at artists that we give them. Then year 10, they move into looking at their own kind of style in a way, so they search for their own artists and become a little bit more independent at looking for their own artists. And then year 11 they do the same, but they use the artist's work a little bit more to incorporate it into their work, to influence their own work, to then create a final piece at the end of year 11. I think the more fun part for them is obviously using the artist influence to create samples using the same techniques that the artist used. So learning new techniques, how to use different materials to create new samples, and then definitely creating a final piece at the end, which is normally a dress or a garment. I think that's definitely the highlight of the GCSE textiles. So we do 60% coursework, 40% exam. 60% coursework, which is basically assessed throughout the whole course. It's kind of feedback, it's in a sketchbook, which they get feedback in lessons, and then obviously written feedback as well. And then at the end, exam. So there's lots of different options they can go into. Obviously, if they go to college, they can do kind of fashion illustration, they can do fashion design. With the textiles GCSE, you can still go into art and design. There's lots of kind of, it's more around the designs kind of thing. It doesn't mean because it's textiles it has to stay to textiles. They can go into a broad range of kind of fine arts and photography.
It's sort of seen as quite a cool subject to take. You will start off by learning a little bit about the camera itself. So you'll be working with a professional DSLR camera, and we'll have a little look at the basics of how to work a camera, and then you'll put that into practice and develop skills in, again, researching into artists, photographers, doing your own response. One of the projects is a small miniatures, so you'll get to work with, composition, working with the small miniatures. You will do sort of shape, form, look at lighting, contrast, and then get to edit all of these amazing photographs that you'll be taking on the software that we've got in school. You get that freedom to sort of go out and explore. You do get to go on photo shoots around the school, so you could get into freelance photography. You could go editorial, work in magazines, publication with photography. You could even go down a crime scene. We use photography more and more every day.
So it's a full GCSE and it comprises composing, performing and listening. We cover lots of different styles, so everything from kind of pop music, rock and roll, to present day things, going right back though to Baroque music and classical music. in the lessons, everyone brings in their instrument, and either Mrs McReynolds or myself might have arranged a piece of music so that we've got music that's appropriate for your instrument, and everyone plays together, usually playing something kind of quite modern and contemporary, and gets to do their musicianship skills as a group. So the assessment is the performance. You don't need to perform in front of people, so you don't need to be able to get up on the stage. You don't need to have that level of confidence. It'd be great if you do, but that isn't compulsory. You can just perform in front of either myself or Mrs McReynolds, and we'll record you, and that's worth 30%. And you'll perform a solo piece. So you might have Mrs McReynolds accompanying you on the piano and just you playing your instrument, and then you need to do an ensemble piece as well, where you play as part of a group of 2 or more. You have to write 2 compositions. One is entirely your own choice, whatever you like to write in whatever style you want to write in, and one is a piece of music that's set by the exam board. So they might set something for that year that's compose a piece of music for a chase scene in a film, and you need to compose that. And then the final piece of assessment is an exam at the end where they assess your ability to listen. Well, you can either go on to do music or performing arts at one of the colleges, or you can go on and do something completely different. And Music GCSE is really good at facilitating other GCSEs because it proves that you've got team skills, it proves that you're able to listen really closely. So you'll find that a lot of people who go on to, for example, the medical profession have got GCSE or maybe even A-level music, and that's considered as a really strong background, and also your ability to empathise with people, so not just continuing music.
So catering, like construction engineering, is also the equivalent weight to a GCSE, but again it's awarded level 1 and 2, pass merit distinction. Catering in year 9, you very much develop the skills that you have learned from Key Stage 3. You will learn to cook and prepare foods to a really high standard. So in year 10, you further develop your understanding of the catering industry. So you get to understand the link between diet, nutrition and poor health. You also get the chance to understand more about food safety and also nutrition and the benefits it brings to health. In year 11, you get the chance to make and prepare your own dishes to a given brief. So you will be taking off timetable all day to produce the outcomes required, and then from there you'll be assessed based on how you perform on the day. Catering is very popular. It's very popular at the moment. It's a high profile subject that you can see on the TV. Once you finish the course, it's very popular to continue onto level 3. If you're interested in running your own bar or restaurant one day, or perhaps you just enjoy the subject and you would just like to develop your further understanding of food and food technology.
So we look at 2 units. They do an internal assessment, which is based on an ensemble dance piece, which is a group dance, and then obviously the external assessment, which is a live performance. And we do a lot of work around different dance styles, how we can choreograph different dance performances. We do a lot of performances within school, so obviously we'll use them for the open evening. We also do a performance at the Gala Theatre to Durham, and there is dance festival that we take part in as well. It's definitely for those students that enjoy dance. They hopefully would be participating, go to dance classes outside of school as well to develop the technique. There is some written work to it, but it's mainly dance that you would do each lesson, and students do enjoy that practical aspect. They really enjoy showcasing the skills as well, so whether it's doing a performance for school or within assemblies, they really enjoy going to the Gala Theatre and doing the performance there, because they get a real experience of obviously what it would be like to be on the stage in the theatre. They are assessed obviously on 2 units, so internal assessment is teacher assessment, then obviously we have to send off a sample to the exam board that gets checked. An external assessment is basically where they have to send off work to, all their work gets sent to the exam board. Each unit comprises of, obviously, they get assessed on their dance performance, they have to do an evaluation on their dance as well, so it's a written task for both assessments. So dance, again, if you want a career in dance, I know some people might want to go on and be a dance teacher. Obviously I know we've got a current year 11 who obviously wants to go and do musical theatre. So it's a natural progression to, if you kind of like the theatre, that aspect or career in dance.
We look at British history, so we look at crime and punishment over time, so it's 1,000 years breadth study. We look at Anglo-Saxon and Norman England and look at the changes under William the Conqueror. We then focus on the American West as a period study, and our extended study is on Weimar and Nazi Germany. The things people tend to enjoy the most is when we look at crime and punishment, we do a focus on Whitechapel. So we look at the Jack the Ripper murderers and the investigation into those murders. They really do enjoy that. They like the period study as well when we're looking at the American West. They find cowboys and Indians really interesting, but they also really, really love Weimar and Nazi Germany. They're really interested in Hitler and what life was like under his rule. People sit 3 examinations, one of them on crime and punishment. The second paper covers the American West and Anglo-Saxon and Norman England, and the third paper covers Weimar and Nazi Germany, which is based on contemporary sources and interpretations of the time period. Lots of people do go on to do A-level history. Some have gone on to study it at university, but it's not just a route into history. It's useful if you want to get those people who are accountants, people who are lawyers, because a lot of it's based on the skills that underpin the history course rather than just the content that we cover.
In computer science, it is a GCSE course where you will be able to gain a qualification of grade 9 to a grade 1. The computer science course is split into 2 parts, where you've got paper 1, which is all about the computer itself and how the computer works, and paper 2, which is a little bit about how the computer works, but more about algorithms and programming. Students really enjoy the programming aspect of the course, where you are able to create your own programs in a programming language called Python. And it's really, really good to build your skills and knowledge around the programming. The assessment of the computer science GCSE is 2 papers, written papers, which are both worth 50% of the final GCSE. You will have time in class to produce some programs that don't get marked but are part of the GCSE and have to be taught in class. After you've completed your GCSE in computer science, you will be able to go to college and complete an A-level in computer science, taking you to jobs or university. Jobs include games developer, games designer and cybersecurity.